Newsmax TV, I'm Ashley Martella. The turmoil in the Middle East may be hitting us hard in the pocketbook. Joining us now on the phone is world-renowned journalist and Newsmax contributor Arnaud de Borchgrave. He's also the director and senior advisor of Transnational Threats Project at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Welcome to Newsmax again, Arnaud.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you.
Oil prices are at their highest level in 28 months. The turmoil in Libya is disrupting production. We're already edging up to $100 a barrel. How bad can this get?
This can get pretty bad because of what's going on in Libya. Libya pumps about 1.8 million barrels a day, and that can be broken down into two categories. The first comes from a basin in the country's western extreme, and is exported from a single major hub just west of Tripoli. And the second, of course, is in the eastern region, which has now in effect seceded. That's the region known as Cyrenaica around Benghazi. Libya supplies about 74% of Western Europe's oil, or at least of Europe's oil as a whole. And if that is cut off, which it could very well be in the next few days, obviously oil will be spiking again.
And Arnaud, how will this affect what we pay at the gas pump?
Well, it's pretty hard to figure out, but clearly oil is a global commodity, and what hurts in one part of the world is bound to have an impact in other parts of the world. If you remove 1.8 million barrels per day, that's taking quite a chunk out of the world oil market. To tell you where the prices could spike, I really can't tell. But if we were to have any trouble in the Straits of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf, you could have oil going up to 200 or 300 very quickly.
The UN says hundreds of people have been killed and hundreds more injured in the Libyan government crackdown on the protesters. Now, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton calls on Moammar Gadafi to stop the bloodshed. As someone who's interviewed Gaddafi and has some insight into his character, as you do, does he care what the U.S. and the rest of the world says about him?
Not really. The man is not normal mentally. I've interviewed him 6 times in my life, and there's little doubt in my mind, even though I don't have the medical expertise, but I have no hesitation in calling him a manic depressive, and I've seen him through his manic phases and depressive phases. So what he's going through today would seem to be a manic phase, where he's taking on the world. He's talking about thousands of casualties, and his son on television talking about fighting until the last drop of blood, or I'll say hyperbolic, but it's to be taken seriously. The man is now in a manic phase, and he thinks that he's going to take on the giant, the United States. And in his mind, the United States has betrayed him, because what happened back in 2004 is that he got scared, Gaddafi got scared after we invaded Iraq, that we would be invading Libya next, since Libya was also working, or at least Iraq was not, but Libya was working on a secret nuclear program. And mercifully, Gaddafi ran scared. He thought we would be invading his country next, and he surrendered his secret nuclear program. And ever since then, he's been working very closely with the United States on counterterrorism throughout his region.
Do you see the turmoil in all these countries, including Egypt, as possibly setting the stage for takeovers by the Muslim Brotherhood?
Yes, it's to be watched very carefully. A lot of people now are going around saying the Muslim Brotherhood has changed its colors. They're totally different political animal. They're willing to work through the democratic process and fight fairly in elections. I would say don't believe that for a second. We've just seen in the last few days some very extreme Muslim Brotherhood leaders showing up in Cairo for the first time in 50 years, in the case of one of them, and speaking about how much they hate the Jews and their American protector.
Considering the protests in a growing number of Mideast countries, including Iran, can you possibly speculate on where this is all headed, and how dangerous could this be for the U.S.?
How dangerous is difficult to portray. What I fear most of all is the Israelis and or the U.S. dropping a bomb or two on Iran's nuclear facilities, which, as I think we've discussed before on this program, could drive oil up to $300 or $400 a barrel very, very quickly, because we're dealing with the Straits of Hormuz, through which about 28% of the world's oil passes every day. The Iranians have formidable asymmetrical retaliatory capabilities all the way up and down the Gulf. including what's been in the news in the last week or two, Bahrain, one of the Gulf kingdoms, which is also home port for the U.S. Fifth Fleet. You look at that map, the Straits of Hormuz are very narrow. It wouldn't be difficult for the Iranians to suddenly sow a few mines. And the Iranians today have the capability of landing a missile on the deck of an aircraft carrier.
Quickly, on a couple of other issues, 4 Americans were murdered by Somali pirates who hijacked their yacht off the coast of Somalia. It's the first time Americans have been killed by the pirates. In your opinion, Arnaud, should U.S. Navy warships be doing more to track these pirates down and blow them out of the water?
Oh, I think we should all be doing a lot more than we've been doing. The minute the word gets around among these pirates that 2 or 3 of their boats have been blown out the water by the U.S. Navy, or any of the other navies in the area, incidentally, and all the NATO nations have got warships there. And despite this, they can still do what they've just done to 4 Americans and just kill them.
And finally, the last president of the Soviet Union, Mikhail Gorbachev, says Russia under Vladimir Putin is a sham democracy and that Russian leaders have rolled back democratic reforms of the 1990s. Does Gorbachev have a point?
Well, he has a point. They're not returning to communism, but they're returning to a form of totalitarianism. And you ask any Russian today, if you're in the street of any Russian city, just ask them what you need most as a government in your country, and they will tell you, each without any exception, we need a strong man. And there's not much you can do to turn them towards democracy.
Arnaud de Borchgrave, as always, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate
you.
it. And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.